I'm Stephanie, and welcome to Fiction Files. This is the playlist where I talk about all things writing, and today I'm going to talk about 5 ways to avoid writing contrived conflict in your story. Conflict is one of the core components of any good story. No one wants to read a book where nothing ever happens, or there are no conflicts or challenges to overcome. But sometimes that leads writers to stuffing in conflict where it's not needed, or adding conflict for the sake of conflict. We don't need any more drama queens in our stories. Adding real conflict takes practice, and it takes the ability to separate yourself from your story and your characters. We often see contrived conflict when the main character is a self-insert, and the author doesn't want anything bad to happen to them, or they don't want them to struggle too hard to get their happily ever after. But that is boring, and it can quickly turn your audience on your beloved characters. Just as show, don't tell is standard writing advice, avoiding contrivance should be another piece of advice for writers. Contrivance is essentially a break in believability or a device that gives a sense of artificiality. It typically reveals to readers what the author wants to happen or that the author is controlling the story instead of letting it naturally unfold. Yes, as a writer, you do control the story and manipulate your readers' emotions and feelings, but it still needs to be believable and not come from left field. If you're ever reading something and think to yourself, well, that's convenient, you've probably encountered contrivance in writing. So let's talk about 5 ways to avoid contrived conflict in your writing. Number 1, follow your rules. If you're writing a vampire story and have established that your vampires cannot go out in the day and be exposed to sunlight, but later one of your vampires goes out in the sun unharmed, people are going to be mad. They will be even more mad when it's revealed that, on the day of a full moon, vampires can go out during the day and there are no repercussions, but that tidbit just wasn't shared until it was actually happening. Plot twists are good, but not when they haven't been foreshadowed or can't work within the rules you've created for your story. Number 2, write in third-person point of view. If you do have a unique twist or want to hold out on sharing information that will be important later, do not write in first person. Like the vampire example, you can't write from the vampire's point of view and then try to shock your audience that he can go outside when he knew this all along. We should have followed along with him as he plans to go out on this day because he knows he can. First person doesn't allow you to hide information from your readers, as we should see everything in the character's head. A first-person point of view character wouldn't be hiding anything from themselves, so it seems contrived to hide it from the audience. Number 3, have your characters communicate. With everyone glued to their phones these days, it's a lot harder to use miscommunication as a point of conflict in your story. I've seen modern stories where part of the conflict is because characters aren't communicating with each other, even though they have all the means in the world to do so. It's annoying and pulls a reader right out of the story when there's a simple solution right in front of them. Number 4, provide motivation behind characters' actions. Have you read books where the characters get into fights to generate some conflict, even though it doesn't add up or make sense by their driving motivation? Or have you seen where a character hates another character for no reason just to introduce some conflict? It falls flat. Readers need to understand each character's motivation and how it played a role in creating this conflict, or they won't buy it. Tell us their history, their wants and needs, their goals in life, and how they make the choices they do so we know how this conflict came to be. Finally, number 5, because the plot says so, also known as put a lampshade on it. This is when a character takes an action because the author needs them to do so to get to the next scene or get the story moving. It doesn't make sense, but the author lampshades the fact by having other characters point out that it's weird, but still accept it and move on. The funniest example of this is actually from The Emperor's New Groove, where Kronk points out, yeah, it doesn't make sense, and they all just kind of shrug and move on, but it's playing it straight in your story. Don't do it. So tell me, do you have any other tips for writers on how to avoid contrivance or contrived conflict in their work in progress? Share your ideas in the comments below. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching Fiction Files.